He's Chris Huston, HeismanPundit.com. Good to have him back. And he joins us now. How can Jadeveon Clowney win the Heisman, Chris?
Well, if he sacked Peyton Manning 7 times, he'd have a pretty good chance. But actually, he'd have to score some touchdowns to play offense.
That's it.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So he can't win.
He can't win. I think, a big problem is right now people are going to tune in 6 p.m. to watch him play against North Carolina. At this point, they're expecting to see an S on his chest and a cape and him flying over people. And the thing is, he's a defensive end. He's not going to do what he did against Michigan in the Outback Bowl in every play, and there's going to be a letdown.
As far as Johnny Manziel, I said once this came out, this controversy, he almost became an underdog story. What he was going to do, if he was going to be suspended, how he was going to play. The Vegas had the odds of him winning the Heisman dropped considerably. Where do you have Manziel in the Heisman race?
Well, because I think there's a lot of Heisman voters who think when someone comes back after they win the Heisman, they think, hey, you're no Archie Griffin. So that's one part of the group. And then there's another part of the group that says we can't ever let there be another Archie Griffin because he never should have won 2. So there's really hard to, it's hard to win 2 Heisman. So I think there was never really a chance for him in the first place.
Well, let's say he played. I guess the bar is so high that it'll be hard to live up to it. And you got people who won't vote for him because of what happened with the whole autograph thing. People take a moral high ground here. So if I have Manziel and Clowney and I remove them from the equation, Braxton Miller, Marquise Lee, A.J. McCarron. Braxton
Miller, Marcus Mariota, Aaron Murray, A.J. McCarron. Those are guys that are established. They all have their names all begin with M. It's very easy to remember them. But you look at Braxton Miller, he could be on a 25-game win streak when Heisman votes are due potentially. Pretty impressive.
All right, there's always somebody off the radar, Chris, that, they seem to happen upon us in America the 4th game of the season or so. Who is that person this year?
Well, I think a guy who's not really way off the radar, but who's not really being talked about is Kevin Hogan of Stanford. He finished off really strong last year, led Stanford to their first Rose Bowl win since 1972. There's that Stanford quarterback mystique out there. And, they didn't give Andrew Luck that Heisman. They may want to make it up by giving it to Kevin Hogan.
Marquise Lee, to me, I had him as one of the top 3 guys last year with what he did. And then we had Lane Kiffin on. He said Marquise Lee would be our best defensive player if he played defense. And we know he's one of the more electric offensive players in the country. Any chance for him?
Marquise Lee might be USC's best coach if he coached. But there's probably not any chance for him. I'd say because USC's quarterback situation is so unsettled. So I don't think he's going to have the numbers he did last year, and I think there's probably going to be a little bit more incentive to spread the ball around. They've got a really bright young star in Nelson Aguilar and also another guy, Darius Rogers, who I think you're going to see a lot of balls as well.
I don't know what A.J. McCarron has to do. And maybe he doesn't get enough credit because he's playing for a great team and even overshadowed by a great coach there. But chances McCarron, he went 30 and with 30 touchdowns, 3 interceptions last year for the best team in the country. But that's not good enough. Why?
Well, I think it's just because he's seen as a game manager with Alabama. Alabama likes to spread their risk around on their team instead of putting all their eggs in one basket like Texas A&M does with Johnny Manziel. So McCarron doesn't really get a lot of the credit as a result. There's all this talent around him. So I think he'd have to do something, crazy, like get a few more big games where he leads them on comeback wins, or maybe get sacked by Jadeveon Clowney 7 times. That might help too.
Thank you, Chris. We'll be checking in with you.
Thanks, Dan.
Chris Huston, HeismanPundit.com.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.